here's a question that could expose the hidden weaknesses sabotaging your career. Can you name just 3 personal interests of your closest work colleague? Their hobbies, what they did last weekend, the name of their new puppy? What's important to them outside of spreadsheets and status meetings? If you just blanked out, you've identified the number one reason why your colleagues are connecting and being identified to move up in the ranks, and you have to argue your case. And the truth is, it has absolutely nothing to do with incompetence and everything to do with social blindness that's sabotaging your career at light speed. You see, you can debug the most complex system on earth and create solutions for the most intricate problems, but you can't decode the most basic human need, and that's the need to feel valued and understood. And this blindness, well, it's costing you millions in lifetime earnings, leadership opportunities, and your professional influence. So today, I'm going to share with you 10 scientifically backed protocols that'll transform how people respond to you. And don't think this is going to make you appear fake or manipulative. Absolutely not. What it will do is optimize your human connection with pretty much the same precision that you bring to your career role. Let me paint a scenario that happens in tech companies every single day. Let's say there are 2 software engineers. Let's call them Alex and Joe. Both have identical technical skills, and both write clean, efficient code, and both solve very complex problems. But here's where their careers split. Alex treats colleagues like functional interactions, very focused on data exchange. In other words, just pure transactional communication. But on the other hand, Joe treats colleagues like human beings with internal databases of experiences and interests and motivations that he wants to tap into. Guess which one gets promoted to senior architect? Guess which one gets invited to strategic planning meetings? Guess which one people actively seek out for collaboration? The difference is that Joe understands a fundamental principle of human psychology that most technical professionals completely ignore. People make decisions based on relationships first and logic second. This isn't some touchy-feely, woo-woo concept. This is measurable, observable human behavior backed by decades of psychological research. When people feel valued and understood by you, their brains release oxytocin, which is also referred to as the trust hormone. And this biochemical response, well, it creates positive associations that influence every future interaction that they have with you. You see, our brains have what neuroscientists call a social reward network. So when someone feels acknowledged and valued, their brain's pleasure sensors are triggered. In other words, making someone feel important and understood creates a literal dopamine hit, and their brain starts associating the positive feelings with you. And specifically, and here's the important part for your career, people are significantly more likely to support, collaborate with, and advocate for associates at any level who trigger these positive neurochemical responses. You can think of it as optimizing the user experience of interacting with you. Just like you wouldn't create an inferior product or show up unprepared, you shouldn't create social interactions that trigger negative associations. But here's where most socially hesitant professionals go wrong. They think showing interest means that they're being fake or manipulative. No, not at all. It's just thoughtfully considering the, let's say, other person's experience and needs. Dale Carnegie understood this principle decades before we had brain imaging technology. He discovered that genuine interest in others creates what he called magnetic attraction. We are naturally drawn to others who make us feel valued and understood. Let me give you the 10 protocols that will optimize every human interaction. Think of them as reliable methods that consistently produce better results for you with other people. First, it's important to note that every interaction begins with an initialization phase, and most professionals treat greetings as throwaway moments. But this 10-second window determines the entire quality of what follows. Here's what you do to make a connection. Give them your complete attention, and do that by making eye contact, showing genuine warmth, and using their name. No multitasking, no phone checking, no thinking about your next meeting. Your full focus should be dedicated entirely to this person for just 10 seconds. I worked with a client who transformed her career by implementing just this one change. Instead of continuing to work at her desk when colleagues approached, she would stop what she was doing, turn to face them, make eye contact, and say, "Hi, Jennifer, what's going on?" Let me tell you, the response was immediate and dramatic. Now, protocol 2 is the power of your name. You see, a person's name is the most important word in their personal vocabulary, and your using it activates recognition pathways in their brain and signals that you see them as an individual, not just another face in the office. It also acts like glue in a very good way. To implement this, use their name at least once in every conversation, not robotically, but naturally and appropriately. Thanks for sending that report, Mike. Good point about that budget concern, Amy. I'll have those numbers for you tomorrow, Dave. This isn't just politeness. Research in neuroscience shows that hearing our own name activates unique patterns in the brain and creates increased attention and positive feelings toward the person who used it. Now, protocol 3 is deep listening, and I like this one because most people think listening means waiting quietly for your turn to talk, but effective listening is active processing and paying attention not just to what they're saying, but to the emotions, context, and underlying needs behind the words. The difference is huge. Passive listening is planning what you'll say next. Active listening is being genuinely curious about their experience, challenges, and perspectives. How to implement this? Well, ask follow-up questions that show you're really processing what they shared. If someone mentions a challenging project, don't just say, "That's tough." Dig deeper. What's making it particularly challenging? Or how are you handling the complexity? Next is asking smart questions. Questions allow you to retrieve information while showing the other person that what they think and feel matters to you. But most professionals ask terrible questions because they focus on only getting information rather than building connection. Instead of yes or no questions like, "Did you finish the proposal?" try questions that invite them to share more, like, "How did the proposal go?" or "Any parts that were particularly interesting to work on?" The goal isn't just getting your answer. Definitely not. It's showing that their experience and their insights have value beyond just a deliverable. Number 5 is the recognition factor. Recognition confirms that you see someone's value, contribution, and presence. When you think about it, the same things that you want. This goes way beyond basic greetings. When someone contributes to a meeting, acknowledge it. When someone helps solve a problem, acknowledge it. When someone simply just shows up and participates, acknowledge their presence and their engagement. Think of it as sending confirmation signals. People need to know their efforts and contributions were noticed and appreciated. Wouldn't you? There's always a time and a place for respectful communication. That's number 7. Respect in this context means recognizing someone's expertise, their boundaries, and their inherent value as a professional and a person. For deep-thinking minds, this often means resisting the immediate urge to point out flaws in someone's thinking or to correct their misunderstandings. Sure, their approach might not be optimal, but leading with criticism only serves to trigger defensive responses that shut down any hope for productive communication. Instead, just acknowledge what works first and then suggest enhancements. Something along the lines of, "That's an interesting approach. I wonder if we could make it even stronger by," instead of, "That won't work because." Personal connection is next, and it's so essential. I consider it an absolute must because in our age of emails and text messages, an actual phone call has become both rare and valuable. Most people receive very few calls that aren't about urgent business matters. Periodically, just call a colleague or professional contacts just to check in, not because you need something, but because you're genuinely interested in how they're doing. It's like maintaining important relationships through regular contact. I know this feels inefficient compared to email, but the relationship impact is exponentially higher. It builds the kind of sustained, trusting relationships that transform careers. Genuine compliments are next, and I'm including them because They work like positive reinforcement. They strengthen behaviors and qualities that create value. But they have to be specific and authentic and not generic praise. Instead of, good job, try something like, I really appreciated how you broke down that problem in yesterday's meeting. Your approach made the whole discussion more productive. This shows that you are paying attention and you value their specific contribution. Just think of it as giving detailed feedback that highlights what someone did well, not just what needs to be fixed. Can you imagine your life without supportive encouragement? Encouragement is like providing additional support when someone's dealing with stress or challenges. When colleagues are struggling with difficult projects or facing setbacks, your words can literally increase their confidence and their persistence. This isn't fake positivity or empty cheerleading. It's recognizing effort, acknowledging progress, and expressing confidence in their abilities. I know this project has been complex, but your progress on the client presentation is impressive. You're handling some genuinely difficult challenges here. Finally, Protocol 10, life event awareness. Acknowledging important events in people's lives show that you see them as complete human beings, not just work colleagues. I'm talking about birthdays, work anniversaries, promotions, project completions, even personal challenges like family illnesses and loss. Your response doesn't need to be elaborate. Simple acknowledgement shows that you pay attention to their life beyond work deliverables. Happy birthday, Susan. Congratulations on the promotion, Mark. I'm sorry to hear about your dad's passing. Too many professionals dismiss this as unimportant small talk, but it's actually high-impact relationship maintenance, and it requires very little time or effort. Now, I know your analytical brain is probably thinking, this seems like a lot of additional complexity to manage. And you're right, implementing all 10 protocols simultaneously can be challenging. But here's my recommendation. Just deploy one strategy per week. Start with Protocol 1, the 10-second reset, and for 7 days, just focus exclusively on initialization sequences and making every greeting intentional and complete. You can track your implementation just like any other performance metric by keeping a simple log of successful protocol executions. You might be surprised by how quickly people start responding to you differently. Just remember, this isn't about changing your core personality or becoming someone you're not. You're still analytical, you're still logical, you're still technically focused. You're just running updated social software that optimizes for better human interaction outcomes. Also, understand that this isn't manipulation at all, it's optimization. When you show genuine interest in people, you're not manipulating them, you're creating better human connection. Here's what will happen when you consistently implement these protocols. For one, people will start seeking your input more frequently. Also, your recommendations carry more weight in meetings, and you'll be included in strategic conversations earlier. The projects will also receive better support and resources. Why is all this happening? Because you've optimized the social layer that determines how your expertise is perceived and implemented. The funny thing is, your skills haven't changed, at least not in any measurable way. But now they operate in an environment where people are predisposed to listen and to trust your judgment and to support your initiatives. I've seen this transformation countless times. The database engineer who becomes a CTO, the research scientist becomes a division head, the systems architect who becomes a VP of engineering. The technical competency was always there, but once they optimized their human connection protocols, that competence became visible and influential, frankly in ways it never was before. So are you up to the task? Are you willing to go the extra mile in every greeting to give that person your complete attention for just 10 seconds? Eye contact, name usage, full presence, all of it? Start to notice your patterns in both implementation and avoidance and record your progress. Just treat it like any performance metric you track in your line of work. After a while, you'll notice people responding to you differently. That's your validation. That's the protocol working correctly. Social skills are truly learnable attributes that directly impact your career success. And like any other skill, once you understand the principles and practice consistently, the results are measurable and repeatable. Thanks for watching.